Right, welcome everyone to this session. Our presenter today is Prof Mia Sasaki, a faculty member at Tarami University with extensive experience in international education, including teaching across Asia. She has published papers on education in emergencies, writing-based teaching, and migrant learning centers along the border of MENA. Prof Sasaki's work stems from the belief that students can do and shape a better future. Welcome, Prof.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here. I'm hoping you can hear me all right. And I cannot see anyone's faces because I just see my share screen. So I'm looking forward to questions and thoughts. I just want to frame this. I'm speaking about formative peer review in the age of AI, not as a formal academic research paper. This was submitted to English Teaching Forum in order to look at a teaching approach. So it's very practical, and I am looking for feedback. So if you have ideas or questions that can help me think deeper on this topic, I'm really open to them. So with that, let's get started. I'm going to aim for around 10 minutes because I really would like to hear Q&A. So it's nice to meet you. I'm Maya. I work at Parami, as was said earlier. I love working at Parami. Our students come from Myanmar, or you may know it as Burma. And because Myanmar is in continual conflict for the past 4 years, all of our classes take place online. And this has multiple effects, of course. Being an online community comes with challenges, but it also has allowed greater accessibility to university for students in more rural or marginalized education areas. So I have been with the university since it started as a licensed university, and I really love teaching there. Like I said, I'm always on the hunt for a mascot for the university because we don't yet have one. So that's my fun side note. So for this idea of formative peer review in the age of AI, as many of you have experienced with the advent of ChatGPT and other language learning models, it really disrupted our online community of learning. And so one of the things I've asked is now teaching composition for me, how do we approach writing in this era? And so I think at the heart of it, this writing that I've done, or this thinking on formative AI or formative peer review, is for students as design thinkers. So looking at this paper by Anson and reading further on Leah and Street's models of academic literacies, it's looking at literacy as more than just something that happens in the university space or in the academic space, that it, contributes to students being whole citizens and taking part in businesses, government, other sectors beyond academia, and looking at how their literacies and how they write and other communications foreground power and identity and their own agency in their whole learning process. So looking at writing as more than just the output of the writing itself. And one thing students and I discuss is that with AI, there is job replacement, and we're seeing it now. So they really do need to be the people who are designing the strategy and be overseeing whatever language learning models can do. So in this, the idea of using peer review as a formative process is the goal to help them be these design thinkers, to be the original thinkers, and to see writing as this iterative process so that they can be the ones who are, again, designing, solving, and innovating. And the goal is, as they see writing as this very cyclical process where they need other people, the goal is to have them become interdependent. For a lot of my students, they think that the professor is often the right answer, has all the right answers, and often they can overly depend on the professor's answers, whereas in writing, especially with an editor, it's a process. And so one thing we talk about is this interdependence and the goal of avoiding depending on language learning models like ChatGPT. So it's the hope that they can gain these skills to be able to peer review their own papers and others, and then eventually, hopefully, add AI back in. So this presentation is less about using LLMs in writing. For me, teaching freshmen, my goal is that they can think for themselves and then add AI later and not use it as a crutch, but as a tool. So I put an asterisk here because this is something that I would like to explore further on, but I'm not going to cover in this presentation. So looking at this, I feel like there are some key elements of formative peer review. It's really important to me that students direct their topics, that they form those, that they are not prescribed. This is so that they can have greater buy-in to the topic, and I'll talk more about that later, but this is a really key skill, but it's also really key for investment. Another thing that's really important in formative peer review is this narrowing to relevant context. Because formative peer review is formative, it's something that we will do again and again through the writing process. Being able to have the students narrow to their context or to their writing context is so important. And then 3, I really want students to know that we're workshopping for more than just writing. We are looking at topics with peer review, we're looking at sources. There are many things that we workshop, and it's not just long form content. And then this idea, which is really key and unpacks what formative peer review looks like, it's for formative assessment. So it is this idea that we get feedback on almost every step of the process that I am looking at for formative growth in writing. And then with that, especially because I teach first-year students, looking at the gradual release of control. In the beginning, we spend a lot more time on how to peer review, and then we practice. And as time goes on, by the second year, second term, when I'm often teaching often similar or the same students, it's really amazing because they carry out the process on their own. And so a practical how-to. So this is generally what I do when it comes to peer review that's formative. So the goal of my method of approaching peer review formatively is to break down a writing assignment into parts. So it gives the students a chance to become project managers and peer reviewers. So the first thing is that we spend time framing peer review and building investment, helping them see that this is actually how publication often works, and that you have multiple rounds of feedback in a writing and publication process. And that writing is not perfect. it undergoes many different steps to make it stronger. This is also the part where we talk about that their original ideas are so important, not just depending on or having LLMs write their paper. So then two, them choosing their individual topic also goes along with investment. They need to choose that topic and then narrow it down with a peer. And because often the context I'm working in is Myanmar, it's really powerful to have them write about their context, because often there's far less research in this area, and it also, when they narrow and contextualize that topic, it often is a topic that ChatGPT or other LLMs do not have enough information on. The writing often from those LLMs is very shallow and general, because as we know, the internet space is dominated by Western-centric, English-centric documents. And so having them write in a space that's unique, that's innovative and thoughtful, and also diverse is really important. So once they have that narrow topic that goes through a series of questions and processes, then they propose that narrow thesis to the professor for approval. And again, that goes through process. The next step is to workshop the annotated bibliography, to work with sources that they find that are credible, and then they use the sources to build an outline. And on each step of this, they are getting peer review feedback. The outline is really key because, again, it gives us a snapshot of what their longer content is going to look like. We spend some time here. And then we do peer review the first draft, but only in sections. So we might finish the introduction, examine the organization of it, look for coherence, check the thesis. And in these bite-sized pieces, especially for freshman writers, first-year writers, this is important because if we peer review the whole paper, it is often overwhelming. They need it in parts so that they can make those changes. And then at the end, we peer review the whole final submission, almost for a final proofread. Okay. So, sadly, the images are not showing. So, for peer reviews and language learning models, I have some theories of why this is the case. The students say they can integrate AI into this process, but they say it's too much work oftentimes. And I think this is because the contextualized topics are often so specific that, again, the LLMs do not have enough data to build on. I think it's also because students are often more invested in their topics. They want to write them because they chose them, and they have a background and experience with that topic. I also think because it's broken down step by step, we peer review small portions before we peer review the whole piece. It makes it more feasible for students, and they feel less intimidated, and this brings us to confidence. Students there's research to show they use language learning models when they feel less confident. So for all these reasons, I actually see less AI usage in writing, and students enjoy seeing their writing go through the process of being imperfect and moving towards a stronger piece. So that is the presentation, and I am a little over time, so I would love to ask about questions, and I welcome other thoughts to formatively peer review this approach. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. That was quite insightful. I just have a question. What kind of feedback did you receive from the students regarding their experiences with this approach of peer review? And were there any surprising insights or reactions from them?
So I would say this is, I get different responses depending on the class. So I've done this for about 3 years now, and the first and third year, it has been really positive. The second year taught me a lot about investment. So I did not spend enough time investing students in the why we do. I spent a lot of time in the how we do peer review. And I had one section of classes that was pretty resistant to peer review. They just didn't see the value of getting peer feedback. They thought the professor was the only one that mattered, and so they did not see it as a good use of time. And so we actually, I took a series of polls, and half the class said that they did not see the point in it. And so we're not giving quality peer review comments. And so I actually took feedback from the students how we could improve the process. We discussed investment, and then we returned to it, and they made the whole process much better. Their feedback was excellent. They recommended having a peer review rubric. I definitely recommend that, and restructuring how we went about it. So the student feedback was so valuable. It's a great question.
So much, Prof. Colleagues, is there anybody who wants to ask Prof Sasaki a question or perhaps comment? We have a few minutes left. Right. Prof, thank you so much for your presentation and providing us with quite a different approach to peer review. I think it's a quite useful approach in implementing as well with the use of the LLMs. Colleagues, please note that you just need to go into the program, the live program on the website, just to check which other presentations are happening in the various halls. And then also please do join our closing session and the social there. There are great prizes to be won, and you will have to attend if you want to win. Thank you so much, Prof, once again.
Thank you too. Appreciate you moderating. And sorry everyone that I ran a little over.
No, it's okay, Prof. We are just right on time to join the other halls. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.